Right now, while you sleep, your liver may be sending you warning signals, and most people over 53 are completely missing them. The scariest part? The signs don't look like liver problems at all. Most people believe liver disease only happens to heavy drinkers or people with serious illness. But here's what very few doctors take the time to tell you. Your nightly habits, the ones that feel completely harmless, could be quietly pushing your liver toward danger, one late-night snack at a time. And by the time the obvious symptoms show up, the liver has already been struggling for months, sometimes years. Be honest with yourself for just a moment. How many nights do you find yourself in the kitchen after 9 p.m.? Maybe a little bowl of cereal, a few crackers, a slice of leftover pizza, or even just a glass of juice before bed. It feels like nothing. It feels like a small comfort at the end of a long day. You're not alone. Millions of Americans over 53 do exactly this every single night, without ever connecting that habit to what's happening deep inside their body. And that right there, that gap between the habit and the consequence, is exactly what today's conversation is about. Hello, and welcome back. I want to start by saying something important before we go any further. This video is not here to scare you. The liver is an incredibly resilient organ, and your body is always trying to heal itself. Always. What we're doing today is simply learning the language your body is already speaking, so that you can hear it clearly and respond in the right way. If you're over 53, this conversation was made specifically with you in mind. So take a breath, get comfortable, and let's talk about something that could genuinely change the quality of your life going forward. What we're going to cover today is this. I'm going to walk you through 7 signs that your liver may be under stress, signs that most people either ignore completely or mistake for normal aging. And then we're going to talk about the real connection between late-night eating and liver health, because this is something that doesn't get nearly enough attention in mainstream health conversations. Everything I share will be in plain, everyday language. No complicated medical terms, no confusing diagrams. Just honest, practical information that you can actually use. By the time this video ends, you'll know exactly what to watch for. You'll understand why the timing of your meals, not just what you eat, matters so much for your liver after 53. And you'll walk away with simple, doable changes that can start protecting your liver starting tonight. That's a promise. So let's get into it. Let's start by giving your liver the credit it deserves, because most of us take this organ completely for granted. Your liver is roughly the size of a football, and it sits just under your rib cage on the right side of your body. Every single minute of every single day, it is performing over 500 different functions. 500. Think about that for a moment. It filters your blood, breaks down everything you eat and drink, produces bile to help with digestion, stores energy, regulates hormones, clears medications out of your system, and fights off toxins before they can reach the rest of your body. Your liver is essentially the body's master processing plant, and it never clocks out. It works through the night, through every meal, through every cup of coffee and every stressful day. It just quietly keeps going. Now here's where age becomes relevant. After the age of 53, the liver begins to change in some subtle but important ways. It becomes slightly smaller. Blood flow through it decreases a little. Its ability to regenerate and repair itself slows down. The enzymes it uses to process food and medications become less efficient. None of these things are alarming on their own, but together, they mean your liver after 53 needs a different kind of support than it did at 35. And the habits that your body could handle easily at a younger age, eating late at night, skipping meals, eating heavy processed foods, not drinking enough water, those same habits start to carry a different weight now. Your liver feels them more. And over time, it starts to show it. Here's the encouraging news before we go further. The liver is one of the most regenerative organs in the human body. It can repair damaged tissue. It can bounce back. It can restore function, even after periods of stress, when given the right conditions. So everything we're talking about today is genuinely actionable. These aren't problems you just have to accept. They are signals your body is giving you because it still has the ability to course correct. Now let's talk about the 7 signs. And I want you to pay close attention here, because as I said earlier, These signs don't always look like what you'd expect from a liver problem. The first sign is persistent fatigue, not the kind that goes away after a good night's sleep. This is one of the most commonly overlooked signs, and it's overlooked precisely because most people over 53 assume tiredness is just part of getting older. And yes, some fatigue is normal, but liver-related fatigue has a different quality to it. It's a deep, heavy, almost bone-level exhaustion that doesn't respond to rest. You sleep 8 hours and still feel like you've been awake for days. You feel sluggish in the morning, even when you didn't exert yourself the night before. You feel mentally foggy, like your thinking is moving through thick air. This happens because when the liver is under stress, it becomes less efficient at converting stored glycogen into glucose, which is the energy your brain and muscles run on. So even if you're eating enough, your cells are essentially running low on fuel, and your body feels it. Think of it like a generator that's been overworked. It's still running, but it's not putting out full power. The lights are dimmer. That's what chronic liver fatigue feels like from the inside. The second sign is unexplained itching, especially on the arms, legs, and back. This one surprises people. Most folks would never connect an itchy back to their liver. But here's the connection. When the liver becomes stressed or inflamed, it can struggle to process bile properly. Bile is the fluid that helps break down fats during digestion. When bile doesn't flow as smoothly as it should, certain substances called bile salts can build up in the bloodstream and eventually make their way to the skin. And when they settle under the skin's surface, they cause itching. This type of itching is different from dry skin or an allergic reaction. It tends to be persistent. It can move around. It often gets worse at night, which is one reason some people notice it more when they're trying to sleep. And no amount of lotion or antihistamine fully relieves it, because the source isn't on the surface, it's internal. If you've been dealing with unexplained itching that comes and goes, especially without any visible rash, this is worth paying attention to. Now, you might be thinking, okay, fatigue and itching. I've experienced both of those. But how do I know if it's my liver or just something else? That's exactly the right question to ask, and we're going to come back to it in just a moment, because the answer involves looking at these signs together rather than in isolation. Stick with me, because the picture gets clearer as we go through each one. The third sign is changes in your digestive experience, particularly bloating, nausea, or a feeling of fullness that arrives too quickly. After 53, many people notice that their digestion just doesn't feel as smooth as it used to. Foods that never bothered them before start causing discomfort. They feel full after eating only a small amount. They experience nausea, especially in the morning or after fatty meals. They feel a dull ache or pressure in the upper right side of their abdomen, just under the ribs. All of these can be connected to reduced liver efficiency. When the liver isn't producing enough bile or processing fats properly, digestion slows down. Stomach discomfort increases. The body signals its struggle through the digestive system because that's where the liver does so much of its most direct work. Now here's where late-night eating becomes especially significant. When you eat in the late evening, say after 8 or 9 p.m., your body is already preparing for sleep. Your metabolism is naturally slowing. Your digestive enzymes are winding down. Your insulin sensitivity drops, and your liver, which normally processes the nutrients from your meal over several hours, suddenly has to handle a full workload during its natural rest period. Imagine asking your kitchen staff to prepare a full 3-course meal at 2 in the morning, when they've been working since 6 a.m. They can do it, but it's not going to be as efficient, as clean, or as organized as it would be during regular hours. That's your liver on late-night food. Over time, this repeated pattern, eating at night when your liver is trying to rest, leads to fat accumulation in the liver. This is the beginning of what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it's now one of the most common liver conditions in Americans over 50. And most people who have it don't know, because the early signs are subtle. The fourth sign is skin and eye changes, particularly a slight yellowing. This one is more well-known, but it's often misunderstood. Jaundice, the yellowing of the skin or the whites of the eyes, is frequently thought of as something dramatic and obvious. In reality, in its early stages, it can be very subtle. a slight yellowish tint to the whites of the eyes, a mild yellowish hue to the skin, especially on the palms or around the face. This happens because of a substance called bilirubin. When red blood cells naturally break down, they produce bilirubin as a byproduct, and it's the liver's job to process and eliminate it. When the liver is under stress and not functioning at full capacity, bilirubin can accumulate in the blood and eventually deposit in the skin and eyes, causing that yellowish tint. In early or mild cases, this is easy to miss, especially under artificial lighting. One simple way to check is to look at the whites of your eyes in natural daylight. If you notice any yellowish tint that wasn't there before, or if others have commented that you look slightly yellow, that's something to mention to your doctor without delay. I want to pause here for just a moment and ask you something directly. Of these 4 signs we've covered so far, the deep fatigue, the unexplained itching, the digestive discomfort, and the subtle skin or eye changes, have you noticed any of these in yourself or in someone you love over the past few months? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. I read every single comment, and your responses actually help shape the topics I bring to you in future videos. So take just a second and let me know. The 5th sign is changes in your urine and stool color. I know this isn't the most glamorous topic, but your urine and stool are 2 of the most honest reporters your body has. They tell you things that you can't see from the outside, and when it comes to liver health, they're invaluable. When the liver is processing bilirubin properly, it gets converted into a compound that gives stool its normal brown color. When the liver is struggling, less of this compound reaches the intestines, and stool can become pale, clay-colored, or a grayish tan. At the same time, excess bilirubin gets filtered by the kidneys and excreted in urine, which can make it appear unusually dark, a deep amber or brown color, even when you've been drinking adequate water. This combination dark urine and pale stool is one of the more reliable indicator pairs for liver stress. By itself, dark urine could mean dehydration, but when it shows up alongside pale stool and other signs from this list, it becomes a much more meaningful signal. If you've noticed these changes and they've persisted for more than a week or 2, this is one of those signs that warrants a conversation with your doctor relatively promptly. The 6th sign is swelling in the abdomen, ankles, or feet. This sign tends to appear when liver stress has been present for a longer period of time. Here's what happens. The liver produces a protein called albumin, which helps regulate fluid balance in the body. It essentially keeps fluid inside the blood vessels where it belongs, rather than letting it seep into surrounding tissues. When the liver's ability to produce albumin is compromised, fluid starts to leak into places it shouldn't be: the abdomen, the legs, the ankles, and the feet. Swelling in the abdomen from fluid accumulation is called ascites. In the legs and feet, it's called edema. Both can be signs that the liver has been under pressure for some time. Now, I want to be very clear here. Swelling in the legs and feet can have many causes: heart conditions, kidney conditions, poor circulation. Even certain medications are common culprits. So swelling alone doesn't mean liver disease. But swelling that appears alongside other signs from today's list, particularly if it's in the abdomen as well, is worth investigating. The 7th sign is mental fogginess, mood changes, and difficulty concentrating. This is the sign that most people least expect to associate with the liver. When the liver is under stress, it becomes less efficient at filtering toxins from the blood. One of those toxins is ammonia, which is a natural byproduct of protein digestion. Normally, the liver converts ammonia into urea, which is then safely eliminated through urine. When this process is disrupted, ammonia can accumulate in the bloodstream and eventually affect brain function. The result is something that can look like depression, anxiety, or early cognitive decline. People notice that they can't concentrate the way they used to. They feel mentally sluggish. They forget things more easily. They feel irritable or emotionally flat for no clear reason. They may have trouble sleeping at night and feel drowsy during the day. This is called hepatic encephalopathy in its more serious form, but in its early, milder stages, it can present simply as a general sense that your thinking isn't as sharp as it used to be. That mental fatigue that doesn't match your physical activity level. Again, mental fogginess has many possible causes, But if it's appearing alongside other signs from today's list, it becomes a piece of a larger picture that deserves attention. And here is something truly important I want you to hold on to right now. Every single one of these 7 signs, every one, can improve with the right support. Lifestyle changes, particularly around eating timing, food choices, hydration, and sleep, have been shown in research to meaningfully reduce liver inflammation, improve liver enzyme levels, and restore better function, even in people who have already been diagnosed with fatty liver disease. The body wants to heal. Your job is simply to remove the obstacles in its way. Now let's come back to late-night eating, because this deserves a deeper look. We touched on it earlier, but I want to make sure the connection is crystal clear. Your body runs on a natural daily clock, what scientists call the circadian rhythm. Every organ in your body, including your liver, has its own internal clock that tells it when to ramp up activity and when to slow down for rest and repair. Your liver's natural cycle is closely aligned with daylight hours. It is most active and efficient during the daytime, and it naturally begins to wind down in the evening as your body prepares for sleep. When you eat a significant amount of food late at night, especially foods that are high in refined carbohydrates, sugar, or unhealthy fats, you're essentially forcing your liver to stay on the job long past its natural working hours. It has to process the incoming nutrients, manage blood sugar levels, metabolize fats, and deal with the metabolic byproducts of digestion, all at a time when it was designed to be doing repair work, not processing work. Over months and years, this pattern leads to chronic, low-grade inflammation in the liver. Fat begins to accumulate in liver cells. The liver becomes gradually less efficient at its day job. And the 7 signs we've discussed begin to emerge, slowly and quietly, until they become impossible to ignore. Research published in journals focused on metabolic health has found that people who consume a significant portion of their daily calories after 8 p.m. have measurably higher levels of liver enzymes in their blood. Enzymes that are elevated when the liver is under stress, compared to people who finish eating earlier in the evening, even when the total calories consumed are exactly the same. The timing matters. It is not just about what you eat, but when. So what does the practical application look like? Here are the shifts that make a real difference. The first is simply moving your last meal earlier. Aim to finish eating by 7 or 7:30 p.m. whenever possible. This gives your liver a window of several hours before sleep, during which it can begin transitioning from processing mode to repair mode. Even shifting your last meal from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m. is a meaningful improvement that your liver will feel over time. The second is being very thoughtful about what you consume in the evenings, if you do eat. If you genuinely feel hungry in the evening, and for some people, especially those on blood sugar medications, evening hunger is real and needs to be addressed. Choose foods that are easy on the liver. A small handful of walnuts, a few slices of apple with a little almond butter, a cup of warm herbal tea. These are gentle on digestion and don't put your liver into emergency overtime mode the way a bowl of chips or a slice of pie would. The third is hydration. Your liver depends on adequate water to function properly, to flush toxins, to maintain bile consistency, and to keep cellular processes moving smoothly. Many people over 53 are chronically mildly dehydrated without realizing it, partly because the sense of thirst diminishes with age. Aim to drink most of your daily water before 6 p.m., so you're not interrupting sleep with bathroom trips, and consider starting your morning with a large glass of warm water, which helps stimulate liver activity and digestion gently. The fourth is understanding the power of a true overnight fast. When you stop eating by 7 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 a.m., you've given your liver a full 12-hour period of uninterrupted rest and repair. This is not a dramatic dietary intervention. It's not a trendy cleanse. It's simply allowing your body to do what it was biologically designed to do when food isn't coming in, which is to shift into maintenance and repair mode. This overnight window is when your liver catches up on its repair list. Protecting that window is one of the kindest things you can do for this organ. Let me also speak to a few other daily habits that directly support liver health, because late-night eating is the central focus today, but it doesn't exist in isolation. Physical movement is profoundly protective for the liver. You do not need to run marathons or lift heavy weights. In fact, for most people over 53, long walks are genuinely one of the most effective liver-supportive activities available. A consistent 30-minute walk 5 or 6 days a week has been shown in multiple studies to reduce liver fat, lower inflammation markers, and improve the liver's overall metabolic efficiency. The movement gets your blood circulating, which helps the liver filter more effectively. It also helps your body use glucose and manage insulin levels, which directly reduces the amount of excess energy being stored as fat in the liver. Sleep quality is another piece that most people don't connect to liver health. The liver does a significant portion of its regenerative work during deep sleep, particularly between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m., according to principles of chronobiology. Poor sleep, fragmented, too short, or consistently too late, interrupts this repair window. If you're someone who struggles with sleep quality, addressing that isn't just about feeling rested. It's directly supporting your liver's ability to heal itself. Stress management matters more than most people realize. When you're under chronic stress, your body produces elevated levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Chronic high cortisol promotes fat storage, drives inflammation, and puts additional strain on the liver. Simple, consistent stress reduction practices, a few minutes of slow breathing in the morning, a gentle evening routine, time spent in nature, connection with people you love. These are not luxuries. They are genuinely medicinal for your liver and your overall metabolic health. And coffee. Here's a piece of information that genuinely delights many of my patients. Moderate, regular coffee consumption, 1 to 3 cups per day of plain black coffee or coffee with just a small amount of milk, has actually been associated with a lower risk of liver disease and lower liver enzyme levels in numerous large studies. Coffee contains compounds called polyphenols that have anti-inflammatory and liver protective effects. So if you're a coffee drinker, this is good news. Just be mindful of what you add to it. Heavy cream, flavored syrups, and large amounts of sugar will counteract the benefits. Here's another question I'd love for you to think about and share in the comments. What time do you typically eat your last meal of the day? Not what you think you should say, your honest, real answer. Evening eating patterns are something almost everyone can relate to, and I genuinely want to understand where my audience is coming from. Drop your answer below, even just a time like 9 p.m. or after 10 most nights. It helps me know what's realistic for the people I'm speaking to, and it helps me give you better, more relevant information going forward. Now, I want to bring the 7 signs back together in a way that helps you use this information practically. The important thing to understand is that these signs matter most when they appear together or in combination. One isolated sign, say fatigue alone, could genuinely just be fatigue from a busy week or a season of poor sleep. But when fatigue is paired with digestive discomfort, unexplained itching, and a slight change in urine color, that combination is a more meaningful signal that your liver is asking for attention. Think of it the way you'd think about a car dashboard. One warning light by itself might be a minor sensor issue, but 3 warning lights lit up at the same time tells you that something real is going on that deserves a look. Your body works the same way, so here's what I'd encourage you to do with this information. Over the next 2 weeks, simply pay attention. Notice your energy levels. Not just how tired you are, but the quality and character of your tiredness. Notice your digestion after meals, particularly evening meals. Notice your skin and whether there's any itching that comes and goes without explanation. Check your urine color in the morning, in natural light if possible. And notice your mental clarity. Is your thinking as sharp and clear as you'd like it to be? Or has there been a fog that you've been quietly accepting? You're not looking for reasons to panic. You're simply becoming a more observant and informed participant in your own health story. And that observational awareness is one of the most powerful things you can develop for your long-term well-being. If you notice 2 or more of the signs we discussed today appearing consistently, that's your cue to have a conversation with your physician. A simple blood panel can check your liver enzyme levels and give your doctor a clear picture of how your liver is functioning. This isn't a scary test. It's just information. And information is what allows you and your doctor to get ahead of any issue before it becomes more complicated. Early awareness is everything. The liver's ability to recover and regenerate is remarkable, but it works best when supported early, not after years of silent struggle. So speaking up about these signs promptly is a genuine act of self-care. I want to close this section by saying something that I believe with my whole heart as a physician. It is never too late to start taking better care of your liver. I have seen patients in their 60s and 70s reverse early-stage fatty liver disease through simple, consistent lifestyle changes. I have seen liver enzyme levels normalize in people who committed to earlier meal timing and daily walking. I have seen mental clarity return, energy improve, and digestion smooth out, simply by removing the obstacles that were working against this magnificent organ. Your liver has been working hard for you every single day of your life. It has never given up on you. And when you give it the right conditions, it will not give up now. Before we wrap up, I have one more question for you, and this one I'd really love your answer to in the comments below. Of the 7 signs we talked about today, the deep fatigue, the itching, the digestive changes, the yellowing, the urine and stool color changes, the swelling, and the mental fogginess, which one surprised you the most? Which one made you pause and think, I didn't know that was connected to the liver? Write it in the comments. And if this video gave you something useful, something that you'll actually think about or use, I'd love for you to share it with someone you care about who might benefit from hearing this. Sometimes the most meaningful act of kindness is simply sharing good information with someone who needs it. A quick and important note before we close. Everything shared in this video is for educational purposes only. It is meant to inform and empower, not to replace the personalized guidance of your own physician. Every person's health story is unique, and your doctor is the right person to evaluate your individual situation, run appropriate tests, and guide your care. Please always consult your doctor for advice specific to you. Now, here's something I've been hearing from many of you in the comments over recent weeks. Questions about the kidneys. And what's fascinating is that the liver and kidneys work in such close partnership that the habits affecting one almost always affect the other. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, because that one is going to answer some questions many of you didn't even know you had. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Truly. The fact that you're here, that you're choosing to learn and pay attention and take your health seriously, that matters. That is not a small thing. You deserve to feel well. You deserve to have energy, clarity, and comfort in this chapter of your life. And the more you understand about how your body works and what it needs, the more capable you are of creating that for yourself. Take good care of yourself. Eat a little earlier tonight. Drink your water. Take a walk if you can. And know that small, consistent changes, made with kindness toward yourself, are exactly how lasting health is built. See you in the next one.